Dan Bongino just perfectly elucidated why we are so obsessed with Israel right now. And despite his and this whole administration's endless Zionist rhetoric, this is why, if you are pro-Israel, you are not currently America first. And until we deal with this problem, we are not a free nation.
About a year and a half after that, I'm in a green room at Fox, and I'm not going to say who because they didn't give me permission to share. It says, you know, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? The person, let's say, is like, I'm absolutely sure of that he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. Meaning
this part,
his plane and that island, the cameras, there's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. But
you don't know? You don't know which Middle Eastern nations? So there's this entire trafficking ring made exclusively of Jewish billionaires, from the front man to the mastermind to the handler to the bank to the literal ex-prime minister of Israel, also the ex-head of Israeli intelligence. I'm sure that all these Jewish billionaires set up a trafficking ring on behalf of Iran, right? So it's an open secret at Fox News, in these political circles, that Epstein was an intelligence asset of some nation in the Middle East. I don't know if you haven't been paying attention, but the Jews don't get along too well with these Arab nations. What nation could they possibly work for? But the most critical part is that the blackmail was not exclusively in Epstein's possession, because that's not how that works. He was doing blackmail on behalf of a foreign intelligence service, targeting all of the United States' top people, all of our top scientists, politicians, wealthy people, as well as British, just anyone he could get his hands on. And all of that blackmail is possessed by whatever country he was working for to this day. And they won't give it to us. So even if they blow this story up, expose all the files, even if they show the tapes, which they won't and should not do, we still wouldn't be the only people in possession of them. Every single person on those tapes is controlled by some foreign country in the Middle East. It's like, what foreign country in the Middle East has an insane amount of influence over everyone in the United States for no explicable reason? We are told ad nauseum that claiming that Jewish people have allegiance to Israel over America is an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory, despite the fact that on TV every day we have explicit evidence coming directly out of their mouths that that is often, not always, the case. And it's not always the case, and that's okay. But sometimes, frequently, at the top of power, it is the case. Such as Jonathan Pollard, one of the most egregious intelligence leaks in American history. He was an American Jew that, because of his Jewish heritage, had a stronger allegiance to Israel than America and committed high treason by giving Israel all of our secrets. This probably has a lot to do with Bill Clinton getting blackmailed by Epstein with the Monica Lewinsky scandal. That was all very tied together. Jeffrey Epstein himself is a perfect example. He's American. He was born in New York. His allegiance was clearly not to America first. Robert Maxwell, one of the most famous Mossad spies in the world, was born in Czechoslovakia. He was a British citizen, but his resting place is on the Mount of Olives in Israel, because he backstabbed just about every government he ever worked for or had citizenship with on behalf of them. Leslie Wexner, born in Ohio, American billionaire. Clearly his primary allegiance is to Israel if you do even an iota of research about him. This bro was running trafficking rings out of all of Victoria's Secret, as well as Abercrombie & Fitch and Hollister. And I just had to giggle because I accidentally noticed that Ehud Barak, ex-prime minister of Israel, head of military intelligence, key member of putting this trafficking ring together and managing it. Yeah, he wasn't born in America, but he was born in Palestine, ironically enough. And a massive, massive portion of American citizens today have this question. Both on Trump's side and on the left, and everyone in the middle is noticing very rightly that Trump and Tulsi and Cash and Pam Bondi RFK, Marco Rubio. This entire administration, this entire cabinet, they've got great takes on America, in my opinion. Great takes on the FBI, great takes on the CIA, great takes on the deep state, great takes on taking down the corporate banker pharma control of our country. But every single one of them is a Zionist and extremely pro-Israel and pretends like Israel is our greatest ally, despite the clear evidence against that. Sure, maybe some Israelis are on our side. I'm sure there's lots of Israelis that are on our side, that are good people, maybe. There's certainly a lot of Jewish people around the world that are great people. But all of these people are very vocal about cutting funding to Ukraine. That's great. But then they try to deflect and stay silent and just do a little dance every time we notice that we're spending more money on Israel than on Ukraine over the years. None of them are talking about cutting funding to Israel that is actively blackmailing the entire US government, has a secret nuclear program, is committing a genocide. At the very least, it's an apartheid state. Their national economy is deeply intertwined in the diamond industry and all sorts of illegal international trade and human rights abuses around that in Africa. We have anti-Semitic speech laws in America when we can criticize our own government and our own president, but we can't criticize Israel. We can't even talk about it, or else we'll get kicked off the internet, kicked out of the government. And I hold out at least a sliver of hope for most of these guys that they do understand what's going on and they understand the gravity of Israel's control and that they are just tiptoeing and playing it careful and trying to get the job done here without starting a firestorm that's going to prevent them from doing that. But it's not looking super great. And just like, forget about all the other conspiracy theories about Israel. Forget about the Rothschilds. Forget about the Federal Reserve. Forget about the fact they own the media. Forget about the fact that they founded Hollywood. Forget about all that. Whether you think it's true or not, it does not matter. Just Epstein alone, just Epstein, blows this whole thing wide open. And even if every other Jewish conspiracy theory was not true, and a lot of them are not true, some of them are maybe, Epstein alone would be cause to sever all diplomatic ties with Israel until this story is completely exposed, because our government is not our own if our presidents and our senators and our top officials and our intel agencies and our billionaires and our media are being blackmailed with that kind of information and material by Israel. And Elon did this thing where he returned an awful lot of free speech to the American people. And there's this really rough consequence of free speech that it makes it really obvious when you're not allowed to talk about one specific topic. And the way that all the Zionists are going to freak out and call me names because of this video pointing out very clear facts that everyone can see for themselves online, that only proves my point. Yeah, Muslim extremists, they suck. Yeah, Sharia law, super whack. I want nothing to do with it. It's an extremely complicated situation. We get it. But just because a conversation is filled with blackmail and psyops and COINTELPRO and misinformation and just trash does not mean we can avoid the conversation about the entire US government being blackmailed with kiddie videos. So Bongino, look at the map. Who do you think he was working for?